You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
So happy you could join me here today on this Motivation and Mindset Monday. I hope we have a great show for you today. Just about 3 weeks ago or so, on episode 878 of the Cabral Concept, we spoke about a Japanese phrase or terminology or pilgrimage that you should be doing every single year to increase happiness in your own life, because happiness honestly comes with perspective and gratitude. And this phrase, this thing called misogi, is so important that I believe that each one of us engage in every single year, at least once a year. I think probably twice a year would be even better. Check that show out for exactly what we're talking about there. And the reason I do bring that up is that on today, on episode 892 of the Cabral Concept, we're going over a new phrase, a new terminology. And that's because I love studying other cultures. I love trying to really get as much of their wisdom into my vernacular, into my field, into my culture as possible. And the reason is that I want to always be able to share with you not the best of just our Western-based mentality of this kind of like U.S. mindset where we're on the forefront of this, and this. I just simply do not believe that. And I didn't see it with my own eyes, which I want to talk about in just one moment. But one of the reasons is that we lack a lot of the ancient wisdom that many of these cultures were built on, because in the U.S., the United States, and, I would even say a few of the European nations as well, there isn't that same history of culture. And what I mean by that is that we're not going back thousands of years in the United States, at least not for how we look at it necessarily, whether we can look at different cultures that were here thousands of years ago, but not how we're living in this Western-based mentality right now. So when I went, and this is really, really important, when I went many years ago and studied all over the world, my eyes were open to a different way in which people do things. And it was so foreign to me, beyond what I absolutely ever expected, that I came back a changed person. Which then it goes back to, again, it reinforces this idea of misogi, of this pilgrimage, of doing things that are different, doing things that are hard, so that you change as a person. And because you change, everything around you changes. The way in which you look at things changes. The way in which you interact with others changes. It made me a big part of the way I am today. So one phrase that I want to add to that, one new idea that I want to bring to you, is this Japanese phrase of Genchi Genbutsu. So Genchi Genbutsu literally translates to go and see for yourself, or go to the source. So why I believe that this is so important is understanding that, again, a lot of our Western-based mentality is to think about it, debate it, talk about it. In business, it's like sit around a boardroom, sit around in meetings all day, and theorize about what should work. It's like a lot of our medical research right now. Oh, well, let's take a look at how this works in the lab. But it's not looking at what actually happens in the real world. We dealt with that many, many years ago, let's say 2 decades ago, in really exercise-based science. So like, this should work, okay? But when you take it in the real world, it doesn't work. It can work in a controlled environment, but not in the real world with real people when you're trying to get real results. We see a lot of that in the medical-based fields as well, where people are taking pharmaceutical drugs, but in the labs, they're not testing those pharmaceutical drugs when someone's also on a handful of other drugs. They're not testing the interactions. They're not seeing the detriment that can come to people's health when they're on a cocktail of pharmaceuticals. So it's so important to look at that. And so how I took this phrase, how I look at it in my own life is that 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 9 years ago or so, where I was studying overseas and I was finishing my doctoral-based degree, I looked at it and I said this: listen, I have a great basis point from all these great textbooks that I read. I've studied under some great mentors. But really, what is happening in the rest of the world? What does it look like in China to practice traditional Chinese medicine? I know what it looks like in the US, but what about in China, where it originated, right? Or in India, what about Ayurvedic medicine? Is it practiced differently in Kerala, in the south of India? And is it practiced differently in the north or even mid? And I studied all over. I was in Mysore, I was up in Dehradun and Rishikesh, and I was down in the south in Kerala and Trivandrum. And I was all over, because India was one of those great places I had the privilege of studying multiple times. And then I was in Sri Lanka. And in Sri Lanka, I said, okay, how is this offshoot of Ayurveda and how does it reflect overall Ayurvedic-based philosophies? And I was in Europe and I was studying functional medicine and I was studying different degrees of different types of what we would call bioregulatory medicine, since bioregulatory medicine is so big over in Germany and it was big where I studied in the Netherlands. So I got to use microscopy. I got to use all these really advanced things as well. But my goal was not just to accumulate more knowledge. My goal was to use this thing that I later found out a name for, Genchi Genbutsu, and actually go to the source. The reason I studied overseas was to figure out what actually worked. I literally said to myself, as I'm in my last year, I said, okay, what I'm going to do, the way that I'm going to run my practice is that I'm going to study every different type of all the major types of natural medicine. And whatever works the best, that's how I'm going to practice. Now, again, when I was going into college and undergrad, and I said to myself, well, yeah, I think I might want to become a dietitian or doctor or something like that, conventional medicine doctor. But when I got so sick and I couldn't get better and the best of conventional medicine couldn't help me, that fantasy of what it could be drifted away because the best of the best couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. So I had to look elsewhere. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't need great MDs because, of course, we do. And we need great medical doctors because of the specialists and the breakthroughs and the technology and the acute-based care that we get from conventional medicine. But what I was talking about is how do I help people like me? How do I help people with the chronic-based issues such as the higher cholesterol, high blood pressure, the migraines, the psoriasis and skin-based issues, the chronic fatigue, myalgic encephalomyelitis, the POTS-based syndrome, the autoimmune issues, the joint pain and inflammation and fatigue? How do I help people who are suffering on a daily basis, not having a heart attack or stroke or those types of things? And so what I did was then I said, okay, I'm going to figure this out. I will figure it out. I need to figure it out for myself because I wasn't fully better yet. I need to figure it out for my family, and I need to figure out for the greater community who I wanted to serve, that I wanted to give back, that I said that if I ever get well, I need to teach this to others. And I didn't teach it to others until I healed, until I got better, or until I had a real hold on how these things were working. So I went over to Sri Lanka and India and I studied Ayurvedic medicine. And then I studied in China, learning traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture and Chinese physiotherapy and tuina and then herbal-based medicine. And I studied functional medicine and advanced lab testing and microscopy and all these amazing things in Europe, namely the Netherlands. And then in the US, of course, I had brilliant naturopathic-based doctors and functional medicine doctors, and I went to the Institute for Functional Medicine and did all of their seminars, and that was amazing. They were all amazing. And so why did I do all those? Well, the reason was I needed to get boots on the ground. That's another translation for this. I love that. I love the get your boots on the ground the Genchi Genbutsu way. And it's because I didn't want theory. I wanted what actually worked. And the interesting thing was this. I found that all of them worked if you understood which person needed which specific therapy. And if you understood that no matter who it was, they needed a foundational-based program, and that's what we do today. So everyone needs a foundational-based program, which essentially is emptying your rain barrel. If you've studied bioregulatory medicine, you understand that the body, that they're trying to get your lymphatic system working, your liver working, your kidneys working, your immune system working. They're trying to get the body to be able to clean itself. Ayurvedic medicine, you're going through panchakarma. What's panchakarma? It's detoxifying the body. In traditional Chinese medicine, you're looking to remove the dampness. You're looking to increase the heat. Like you're looking to balance that body in the same way and remove toxins. In Ayurveda, they call it ama. So that's what we're looking at. So the foundation is emptying your rain barrel. It's getting your body clean to a point where there's not more coming in that your body can handle, right? Because we live in a pretty toxic world. And then after that, it's understanding how to balance that body. Now, I believe that we take the best of Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine, understand the body types and the doshas, and I'll be teaching that just another week or so. And then we take functional medicine. We can actually run lab tests, such as the organic acids test, to look at your vitamin levels and look if you have too much candida overgrowth or C. diff, right? And you can run a stool test to see if you have parasite overgrowth or whether you have H. pylori or bacterial overgrowth, namely SIBO, right? Or from E. coli overgrowth or Klebsiella. And then we can run a hair tissue mineral analysis to look at your mineral levels and heavy metals. Like, okay, replenish some minerals, take out some metals, depending on what you show up. So like we can figure these things out. But here's the deal. Before I went over to India and China and all these different places, it was all guesswork. It was all guesswork. Once I got there, I got to see who benefited the most from acupuncture. I've spoken about this before. Tremendous benefit in acupuncture from those people with neurological-based issues. Stress, right? Insomnia, anxiety. Acupuncture works phenomenally well, again, with that energy-based system. Now, I'm not saying it can't play a hand or a role in treating other-based conditions, but what I'm looking at is like, that was fantastic. Like, that worked really well for that. And then when I'm over looking at Panchakarma, I'm like, well, it works tremendously well, especially for that endomorphic body type or that even that overweight dosha or accumulation, the puffiness, the swelling, the katara, as we call it, all of those specific things exceptionally well. So what I understood was that by going over there, I had a better knowledge base for what I could then bring into my practice and create one system of medicine that involves everything. It's an accumulation. It's basically like Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do. I'm big into martial arts. Not a lot of people know that. But what Bruce Lee did was he said, I don't care the best form of martial arts. What I care about is taking the essence, the spirit, the essentials of each one and turning it into one system that is very clean and that can be used if needed in self-defense, that a lot of people don't know this, that doesn't need to be ever used in more than 3 different movements. So he believed in the cleanness and efficiency. And that's honestly what I try to do in my practice is really, I say, okay, there's tier 1 supplements, tier 2 supplements, tier 3 supplements. You don't really need all the extras if what you can do is push the right dominoes in the beginning. Same with foods, same with exercise. Do you really need to go overboard with exercise? No. You only need to go overboard with exercise if you don't get the other things right, because it's about balance. It's about creating equilibrium. Even when you look at the Equilibrium brand, all hopefully you see is simplicity and cleanness. That's it. It's to the point. It's not extra. There's no additional, but it gets right to the source. It is this Genchi Genbutsu. So one thing, how can you use this in your own life? Well, it's this. It's that you can guess all you want about the right diet for you. You can say, oh, I think I should be low carb. Oh, I think I should do a detox. Yeah, maybe I should exercise more. But you don't know. You're theorizing. You're guessing based on a friend's experience, based on a book that you read, based on what should work on medical research. But does it work for you? That's what we're asking. Does it work for you? And, you know, again, like there are foundational-based programs that should work for every human being alive because you're human. But you need to be able to do it, put boots on the ground, implement it before you get feedback. Like that was the whole point. So, again, the Toyota-based company is known. If you look up Genchi Genbutsu, and I will link it up in the show notes today, just go to stephencabral.com/892. And when you go there, and you look up this word, it's synonymous with Toyota. It's the Toyota slogan, essentially. And it's because what they did was they took their executives when there was an issue, and they said, get down to the factory floor. Go out to the customers. Get in the car and drive it so that you get firsthand experience on fixing the issue at the root source. So basically, Genchi, and again, please forgive my Japanese because obviously it's not perfect, it's not correct. I have enough difficulty with English, and I'm supposed to be speaking Japanese terms here. But Genchi being the source, basically being the floor itself, the place, and Genbutsu being the object that we're working on. So basically, Genchi Genbutsu would be going down to the factory floor and seeing why there might be a holdup in production, a slowing down. What is the cog that's slowing? What's the bottleneck on that assembly line that's slowing everybody down? And it's the same thing in your life. If you look at your life, like, what's the thing from keeping you from achieving your goals? What is it? Because there's something. Is it mindset? Like, do you just not believe in yourself? And that's possible, right? Because a lot of times growing up, no one ever put any belief in us. So we never really had a lot of confidence on our own, or we were told all the time that we were a failure, or that we wouldn't amount to much, or because we didn't do well in school, that defined us, right? Because we weren't a great test taker. Well, that isn't the definition of you. And there is all sorts of different types of intelligence. Test taking is just one of those. So is your bottleneck you? Is your bottleneck your belief in yourself? If that's the case, you need an accountability coach. You need someone that's going to say, I believe in you, even though you don't believe in you. It's so important. Or is the bottleneck that you just don't even know where to begin? If that's the case, really, run a functional medicine lab test with a local health practitioner through Equilibrium Nutrition with someone that's going to show you, listen, like, you have digestive problems, you have bloating, you have gas, takes you a while to break down a meal, you feel sluggish after you eat lunch, run the organic acids test. If possible, run a food sensitivity test. If possible, a third one would be a stool test. Run something, get started, get some data. Your health coach or doctor or someone will then say, look, here's what you have too much of. Listen, this is what you have too little of. It's right here. You might not have figured it all out with that one lab, but this is a really good place to get started. Here, go. Work on this. Let's chat in 4 to 6 weeks. Then let's make additional adjustments. We'll recalibrate. Then we'll do even better. That's the whole point. But so many people's bottlenecks are, they're like, I thought I'd get it right the first time. Well, like, who gets it right the first time? I don't know the person. Listen, I struggled from 17 years old to 27 years old. Nobody should wait that long. And that's why I'm so, passionate and intense about what I do. And it is intense because 10 years is too long to suffer. 10 months is too long to suffer. So what I do now, like in my practice, or if someone runs a lab with us, or just teaching, right? Because this fall I'm going to go back to teaching because we can't keep up. My team can't keep up with everyone that we have coming into the practice. So I have to be able to get the knowledge out there to other people. And so what I'm saying is this, is that, listen, when you follow the protocols that we lay out, and even just going by the book, like the rain barrel effect is literally the template that we use. Like, this is it. Like, follow this. And I'm telling you, within 12 to 16 weeks, you will be better. You'll be better. Will you be 100%? Hopefully. But if not, you already have the path to success. And you're going to just compound how well you get better, compound how much weight you lose, compound how much more energy you have each and every month after that. So again, like, if you have deep-seated myalgic encephalomyelitis like I did, or chronic fatigue syndrome, or fibromyalgia, you're going to get better every single month, right? But after the first month, you see yourself getting a little bit better. The next month, the same thing. But these are deep-seated mitochondrial issues. You need to wait for your cells to turn over every 3 to 4 months. But remember, every 3 to 4 months, you're feeling that much better. And then you feel much, much better. Like, what if you go from 100 mitochondria to 200 after 3 to 4 months, and then from 200 to 400 after another 4 months, and then from 400 to 800 mitochondria? That can happen. And it's why I tell people today, like, listen, not just me, but people in my practice telling me in their late 60s, listen, I feel better than I do now than I did when I was 35. Well, how does that happen? Why do you feel better at 65 than 35? Because you've rejuvenated your body at a cellular level if you allow yourself to begin these processes. It's the same thing with career too. Like, I don't always want to make it about health. Like, what if you're in great health? And what if you have the body you want? Well, you want it all. You want the great relationships. You want the great career. You want it all. So it's saying, like, you're like, well, I don't know. Maybe I'd like to go into health coaching, or maybe I'd like to go into this. Well, try it, right? Like, just try it. Begin to study it. Begin to get into the certifications. Begin to talk with your friends about it. Does it enliven you? Do you get energy when you speak about it? If you do, that's a really good indicator that you'll be good at it. And the reason is that you're passionate about it. If you're passionate about it, you'll want to study. And if you're passionate about studying, you want to share the knowledge that you got from reading books, listening to podcasts, doing certifications, all those great things. But it's the same for any career. Like, what do you get excited about? And even hobbies. Like, some people don't care about their work and career, and that's fine. But what do you love? What lights you up? Is it writing? Is it making music or art or any one of these things? Like, what is it that gets you fired up? And then begin to implement some of that in your life. And that carries over to the rest of your life. Like, that's why this is so important, because you can have areas of your life that just aren't going so well. Like, maybe you're taking care right now of someone in your family that's very, very sick. You don't always get to control that. You don't. But if you start to do things in your life that you actually believe you'll enjoy, and then you get those boots on the ground, right? And you actually go in and implement it, you get to see, hey, would this work in my life? Yes or no? Would this bring me happiness? Yes or no? And you actually get to put it into action and you do it. Well, if it does bring you happiness, if it does bring you joy, that will carry over into even caring for a loved one who might have Alzheimer's or a sick child. Because what you do is you look at life differently, because you have a different level of enlightenment, a different level of awareness, a different level of joy, that you understand that even when you're around other people who don't share in that joy, who don't have that joy, for whatever reason, maybe it's very good reason because they are sick, that you're able to understand the position you're in. You're better able to give gratitude just for the position you're in, because you can juxtapose that against someone who's not as fortunate right now. And that is not to look down upon that person. It's not to just give them sympathy. No, it's to understand that, hey, we all go through different struggles in life. You've been there yourself, maybe in a different way. You might be there in the future, but where you're at right now, it's a better place. It's a good place. So what I want to leave with you with right now is I want you to think about your life. What are things that you think that you may enjoy? Or better yet, what if you're struggling with something right now? What if you're struggling with it? Are you just thinking about it? Are you just debating it, right? If it's a health issue, have you read up on it? Have you really read deep into it? So you're like, oh, I have high blood pressure and or high cholesterol. My doctor just says it's genetic and I'm going to have to take these beta blockers or diuretics, or I'm going to have to take this Lipitor or statin or whatever for the rest of my life. Really? Is that true? Like, is that true? Are we just throwing that out there? Who says? Says who? Your doctor? Okay, well, is your doctor really the authority on all things cholesterol? And if you say yes, well, then that's it. That's where it stops. But if you say maybe, maybe not, good. Now you've left yourself open a window where there's an opportunity to just say, let me see what else is out there. Has one other person with high family cholesterol been able to get off high blood pressure or high cholesterol medication? If the answer is yes, that's interesting. Then we put into practice this thing called Genchi Genbutsu, and we say, what did that person do to get off those high cholesterol meds? Or get the relationship they want, or get the career they want, or get the body they want, right? I just did a podcast last week on our Training Thursday episode. That was episode 888, 888, StephenCabral.com/888. And that was with Ben Pakulski. Ben Pakulski is a perfect example of transforming his life multiple times. But he's also a perfect example of taking people, no matter how they haven't believed they could transform their body before, and transform it, right? So it's basically saying, okay, I'm going to keep myself open to all possibilities and study what other people have done to be able to get a specific result. And then the studying part is good, but that would not fall under this phrase that we call Genchi Genbutsu. What would fall under that phrase is to go and see for yourself, right? It's nice to read things, great for your friends to give you recommendations. Go and see for yourself. Implement the diet, implement the health plan, run the functional medicine lab, go see a life coach or therapist or practitioner, but implement the plans in your own life. Give it time. Give it 6 weeks. Give it 8 weeks. Give it 12 weeks. Give it time to sink into your life. Allow yourself to fail multiple times, but better yet, go revisit as you're going through these things and see where the bottleneck is in your life. What's holding you back from achieving all of your dreams, all of your goals? Because a lot of times we're great in one area, right? We're great in family or relationships. We've got good friends, but we're not good in taking care of ourselves. Or we've let our body slide. Or we've kind of just put our career on the shelf. It's like, look at it. Like, what was the stumbling block, right? Maybe it wasn't time before. Do you have the time now? Or can you carve out, 1 hour, 3 days a week? Or can you wake up a little bit earlier? But what I want you to do for yourself right now, because this is important, is start to look at the things that hold the most meaning for you. Once you do that, then what I want you to do is say, okay, this holds the most meaning. This is what I want to take to another level. What's holding me back? Okay, this is what I think will take me. This is what I think This is what I think will get me to my goal. Let me begin to implement that. Let me go and see for myself whether I would even like that or not. But I won't know if I like it or not. I won't know if it will bring me more happiness until I go and do it. Hopefully today's show was helpful. If it was, please let me know on Instagram. Just go to Stephen Cabral, or as always, you can join our free private Facebook group at cabralsupportgroup.com. And if this show is helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone you believe it may serve. Take care, everyone. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.